As we know, millions of people will head to the polls today. And while the number of Hispanic voters increases year after year, the turnout rate among Hispanic Americans typically trails behind other demographics. Joining me this morning to talk about voter turnout is Domingo Garcia, National President with LULAC. Good morning, Mr. Garcia. Thank you so much for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Good morning. Good to have me, and go vote if you haven't voted. It's Super Tuesday.
Go vote. Get it done. Now's your chance to have your voice heard. You know, I want to ask you, Mr. Garcia, why is it we see fewer Latino voters at the polls?
Well, actually, it's because you got to have politicians that talk about our issues. Our issues are really, bread and butter issues. It's the economy, it's salaries, it's education for our kids. A lot of our children are in public schools, and the impact on public schools of charter schools. Once you talk to them about those issues, then I think that will turn out the vote. And you saw that in Harris County when you elected Lina Hidalgo as county judge. And we've seen that when the Beto O'Rourke campaign, when he got a large number of Hispanic voters because he was bilingual and appealed to that demographic.
With that said, do candidates often overlook their Latino constituents on campaign trails?
They do. They don't invest the money to get the vote out and the Latino community like they might do in the African American community or others, and therefore it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But the reality is, we've seen that when you invest in the Latino vote, you will get them out. And every day you have a whole batch of 18-year-olds who are eligible to vote. They need to be registered to vote in our high schools and colleges. So just the sheer demographics, we're 42% of the state population, and we're probably going to be around 38% of the vote in the Democratic primary. And that could be really determinative, for example, for that U.S. Senate seat.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You're 100% correct. You know, I know you're saying obviously representation matters, right? Having people who look like you, talk like you in these positions, that matters. But you're also saying, in addition to that, or even separate from that, you're saying these candidates, regardless of who they are, must have these conversations within that community.
And they have to be done year round. And the fact of the matter is, Latinos, we're socially conservative, and we're more liberal on money issues and bread and butter issues in terms of economic opportunity. So we're up for grabs, and the Republicans have made some inroads. Democrats used to be dominant, but not as strong anymore. So both parties need to pick up their game and talk about issues that impact our community. Like I said, bread and butter or tortilla and butter, whichever one you butter, like it buttered, or avocado toast. That's what we need to be talking about.
You know, that's a really good point. Talking with different constituents throughout the city of Houston, oftentimes something we hear is that these marginalized communities, these minority communities, they feel exploited because these candidates are not coming around year round. They're not hosting these conversations 365 days a year. They're only coming around during an election season. And so, of course, it's natural for them to feel exploited, not feeling heard, not feeling welcomed.
That's correct. And, when we look at what have you delivered? Are there contracts to our Hispanic contractors and Latino contractors and those opportunities? And what about employment, whether it's the school district or the city or the county or state? What's happening there? Because, like I said, Latinos are very patriotic. We serve our country in the military. We're very pro law enforcement. And those issues appeal to us, but we need to see results. And those results normally have to be to our families, our familias, because that's where we see the bottom line.
Talk to us about what LULAC is doing to support Latino voters this primary election.
Well, we just we have lawsuits pending right now on redistricting, whether it's City of Houston in terms of our city council districts here, or we're talking about statewide and opening up opportunities for congressional and state house seats that are currently pending in the federal courts. And we expect to succeed. We've sued Texas, unfortunately, since 1970, every 10 years, and we've won those. In addition, we're trying to get out the vote in terms of registration, and then get out the vote for this election, although it's been relatively slow across the state. But the one area where turnout has been higher than average is down in South Texas, and that, again, can also be come and play in this primary.
And for people listening right now, Latinos listening right now, and language might be a barrier, what would you say to them to overcome this obstacle, to get out, to register, to vote?
But all our ballots are now bilingual. So ballots are now in English and Spanish, and there's always usually a bilingual translator at the polls that can help that person, and they can take a friend or a relative to go take them and assist them in the polls if there's a language barrier. But my experience has been the vast majority of Latinos, they know enough to say who I'm going to vote for. And in this election, especially its presidential election, I believe the road to the White House and the road to the state capitol go through the barrios and colonias of Mexican Americans and Latinos throughout the state of Texas.
Yeah, certainly a community that has a big say in how this country moves forward. Domingo Garcia, thank you so much for your time this morning. We appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.